Hello, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dynasty, FF Mad Scientist. Welcome into Rat Pack Fantasy Football. Tonight we have some Week 1 waiver wire and a recap of Sunday Night Football. We are recorded tonight during what looks to be a made extra point by the Bills. Today, joining me for that, I have Steve Bradshaw and Tracy Norton. I almost forgot your name for a second because you have Gridiron Gal on the damn thing. And I'm like, what's his name? I'm like Ron Burgundy. I just read whatever's on the screen in front of me. So, how's it going, guys?
You should know by now.
Right. Not bad. How about you?
It's exhausting. I forgot how exhausting this crap is, doing this nonstop. I come home and I'm not going to lie. All day at work, I had to work an 8-hour shift, and all day I'm just going, get me out of here. I got stuff to do. So,
yeah.
I'm walking dogs and looking up stuff and changing my league stuff. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Guess before we get into the waiver wire, we can do a quick recap there of the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank. The Sunday Night Football game between the, if you can call it that, between the Giants and the Cowboys. Anybody have any thoughts on that lovely game? We streamed that we streamed the recap show during that 40-0 blowout, and it was not very entertaining. So it was kind of us looking up at the screen and just laughing at the utter stupidity that was the Giants. Looks like the Jets are faring better, but does anybody have anything that they noticed that they'd like to talk about in that Cowboys-Giants game before we get into the waiver wire?
I didn't really see much of it because I was working. I was listening to it, and honestly, after a certain point, I was so disgusted, I just stopped. I couldn't even listen anymore. I was like, you know what? I can't even do this.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway for me was the Giants were just bad, but Dak only had like 6 or 7 points, and the Cowboys absolutely blew them out. So I think that kind of shows like last year that if the Cowboys get up, that they're not going to use Dak and they're just going to run the ball over and over if they're up. And they're a pretty good team, so that kind of says something for not only Dak but his pass catchers. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is good enough to where it really doesn't matter, but fringe guys like maybe Brandon Cooks, who had a solid start and then wasn't used at all, or Jake Ferguson won't be really relevant in those game scripts.
Yeah, I called it a night. I think right after halftime, maybe, because sorry, I had to go to bed. I'm drawing a blank on this bloody game. It's completely blacked out for me. But what I did notice was how absolutely bad the Giants O-line is, and that's troublesome. Dak, like I said, I started him in one league, and I looked, and I think I said he had 6 or 8 points or something. And then I looked and I said, oh, the Cowboys must have got killed. Nope, they won by 40. So how does that happen?
My God, ridiculous.
Tony Pollard rushes for 70 and 2 touchdowns. And then what did he add in? 2 receptions for 12. And did he have a receiving touchdown? Did he have 2 and 2? Oh, no, so his 2 touchdowns were both receiving, weren't they?
I think so, yeah. I'm trying to look it up now.
I have it listed on this sheet as 2 receiving and 2 rushing, but I don't think that's the case. That's a lot of touchdowns, and he didn't score that many points. He did score 40. Right. All around, I don't know. The Giants are kind of worrisome. If their O-line's going to be that bad, I think I'm out on all their pass catchers. I'm out on Daniel Jones, and I think the only Giant I want is probably Saquon Barkley. The Cowboys kind of scare me. I don't know what they're going to continue to do. I don't know if Pollard is going to hold up to a heavy workload like that. And I'd certainly like to have Dak for all the leagues where I started him put up more than 6 points. But I don't think we can take much away from that game aside from the fact that, like I said, the Giants' O-line is absolutely terrible. So I guess we'll move on and we can get into our waiver wire pickups here. We'll start with the quarterback position. I guess I'll let you guys fire it off first. Steve, who's your favorite quarterback to add?
I really like Sam Howell. I know he didn't really have an amazing game. I mean, he was 19 for 31, 202 passing yards, touchdown, interception, but he did show that he will run the ball a little bit. I mean, he did have a rushing touchdown, which helped him out. And it was just pretty much a disgusting game. There's no way the Commanders should have only beat the Cardinals by 4. It was a bad game overall, but somehow looked good at the end of last season. He had about 17, 18 points in that one game he started. So I think he just needs a little more time to get his feet under him. And he has rushing upside, which a lot of these QBs on the waiver wires don't. So I think that actually gives him a chance to get in your starting lineup and have upside under, unlike some of these other quarterbacks that are kind of there to fill in as a late end QB.
That one scares me a bit. Like I was on Sam Howell all off season. Is that a another Zach Wilson interception here? I think that's another Zach Wilson interception here. Sorry, Sam Howell. I had him everywhere. He was my sleeper. I've got him in a ton of leagues. That scared me. I thought they were just going to come out and look awesome against a shitty Arizona team. The fact that he only put up 18 fantasy points against that team really scared me. I don't know if he's a waiver wire ad for me. He's someone I'd probably leave on waivers and just kind of speculate on until we see more from him. Tracy, you got anyone you're keying in on? Quarterbacks?
I have him, but I have to mention him because Jared, of course, Lions, love the Lions, but just what he kind of threw up. He was like, it's only 14 points, yes, but it was at Arrowhead, which is nothing to laugh at. Usually at home, he's averaging about 21.6 points, which was last season. He 253 yards was good. He had 35 attempts and 22 completions. I mean, he looked great. I think it's a no-brainer. The Lions, I think, looked great in general, but he came out week 1 looking strong. Week 1 is usually the worst. Like week 1, 2, and 3 is usually where they're making all their mistakes. Yeah, they didn't win by a lot, but I don't know. You're coming out against the Chiefs first week and you kill it, I think he's a no-brainer to pick up for sure.
You said no-brainer and threw up, and when you watch the replay of this Zach Wilson interception, it's a no-brainer, and you'll want to throw up. So it's very
I'm trying to get the
appropriate.
game on. It's not working. It's driving me nuts.
You can't get it. Gotcha. I didn't originally have Goff on my list because of his rostership, but some of the other options I did have who are all under. Well, Jordan Love's the highest. He's at 31%. I liked him. He put up 30. That one, if I need a quarterback, I'm probably not, dropping the Brinks truck on him there for fab budget. I worry, was it the result of a shitty Bears defense? But he's worth a pickup. Mac Jones looked pretty damn solid against a pretty good defense. He's only 8% owned. Yeah. He put up 31. That, I think, is probably more viable long-term than Jordan Love. I mean, like, the Eagles are pretty much a proven defense there. So unless he just got lucky, I don't mind that one. I like the way Baker looked. He's only 10% rostered. He only put up 20, and it was a pretty crappy Vikings secondary. But if you need someone, Baker's not a terrible option. One of my favorites, though, was Matt Stafford. He's 29% owned, put up 15.5 points. I get it. It wasn't a huge week, but he looked sharp, and I've seen a lot of the advanced metrics where he graded out as one of the better quarterbacks this week. Is there anyone you guys, really like out of that group of Mac Jones, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, and Matt Stafford?
I mean, I have Love on my list because he, without Christian Watson, Dobbs didn't play a lot. And he still got, he scored the 23 fantasy points. So I think as time goes on, if everyone's, actually on the roster, he's just fantasy point wise, he's going to keep going up. Definitely a QB2, like not going to necessarily depend on him, but he's definitely a good pickup.
Yeah, I like Love as well. I like Christian Watson a lot, and seeing that he was really able to excel with Watson specific, I know you said Dobbs didn't play as well, but I think Watson is going to take this offense to a whole new level, which, just means that Love has to go up as well. So, yeah, like you said, I think he's a good QB2. I wouldn't spend all my fab on him in a one QB league or anything at all since he doesn't have rushing upside, and he's not obviously a top-tier passer. but I think he has proven himself to an extent, and I don't really see how things get too much worse from here on, even though the Bears did suck, and I'm a Bears fan, and that was rough. I don't want to talk about it, so let's move on.
I love the stupidity of Twitter. I put out a link to a well-crafted article I posted this morning. 12 hours later, I have a couple hundred views. 9 minutes ago, I tweet out slander against Garrett Wilson for blocking. In 9 minutes, I have 4,600 views. I love Twitter and its wonderful algorithms. So the key to being successful on Twitter, I've learned, is just go out and say ridiculously stupid shit and just make sure you piss people off. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong or who you're pissing off. Just piss someone off and it'll explode.
And it's much easier to do that being a girl. So I've got that going for me.
All right. Well, let's move on to running backs here. Do you guys want to throw one out, or you guys want me to start with my list?
You can start, and then we'll comment on after.
I have a handful of them here, and I'm not sure how I feel about any of them. The three that I have at the top of my list, you can't get in any of my leagues because I already own them, so I'm not sure what the availability is in your league. But I have Tyler Algier, 56% owned. He put up 24. I think he's a great candidate to pick up or keep him rostered, wait a couple of games and sell high, because eventually I think you're going to see the rookie running back take over as usual, and Bijan's going to own this backfield, and Algier is going to be not nearly as useful. So he's someone, if you pick him up this week, use him a week or two and then sell high. We have my guy Roshan. He's only 16% owned on Yahoo. All these are Yahoo ownerships. He's another guy where I think he's going to take over the backfield within a couple of weeks. Kenny Gainwell, I have everywhere. He's 47% rostered. Rashad Penny was a surprise, healthy and active. Didn't see that coming. Swift was pretty much useless, and it was all Gainwell. Even didn't have a huge game, but he would be my third choice. What do you guys think of my three favorites there? And Algier, Roshan, and Gainwell. You pointed.
I don't mind Gainwell at all. I think Gainwell should be pretty relevant going forward because, I mean, the Eagles really love to run the ball, and I was surprised that Penny was surprised and active. I mean, I wasn't thinking he'd be amazing, but I definitely didn't see Gainwell being the basically lead back going forward. I was kind of off Swift early on this offseason. I really haven't drafted him at all. But, I mean, if this trend continues, which I think it should, considering the fact that the Eagles like to run the ball, Jalen Hurts doesn't really check the ball down very much, so the third down back isn't even too relevant. And even so, Gainwell played more on third down than Swift, I believe, which is kind of surprising. I'm not really sure why the Eagles – it just doesn't really make sense to me why the Eagles gave up capital for Swift. They're not going to use him, even on third down, but we've seen weirder things happen.
If you look at it, they gave up what? Essentially a 7th-round pick swap.
Yeah, I mean,
but if he walks in free
nothing.
agency, don't they get a compensatory 7th-rounder anyways? So they get it back. Is my understanding.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the details were, but yeah, I don't really think that they definitely didn't give up anything useful for him. It just kind of seemed like at the time they were excited about him, and it looked like he was going to be a part of their plans. And now that Gainwell is the guy, and that really wasn't expected by almost anyone. So I like it.
I agree.
If you had to rank those three of Gainwell, Algier, Roshan, how would they be? 1, 2, 3 for you guys?
How you said it.
What did I say? Gainwell,
Algier. Yeah, for me.
Okay. Steve, Gainwell, Algier, Roshan.
Yeah, I think I'm close on Roshan versus Algier just because. I mean, I'm a Bears fan, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I think Roshan's very good, and I could see him actually taking over as almost the bell cow back later in the season. I wasn't expecting him to do much of anything, and even in a horrible game, he was producing and being used, so that shows Algier, I don't think, should see touches later on in the season, but Arthur Smith continues to amaze me as how he refuses to use his good players, so at the same time, I could see him being relevant to an extent the whole season. So I think they're about tied with me. So Algier is probably going to get the production immediately. So I agree with what your list is. Gainwell we'll go Algier and then Roshan. But I think Roshan is pretty close to Algier.
I've got three
long
more
term.
running backs on the list. They're all 5% or less owned, and all of them I don't know what to make of. I have Justice Hill / Gus Edwards / Hunt Fournette, whoever the hell, Melvin Gordon, whoever the Ravens have here starting this week. I don't think any of them are exciting. I think they're a Hail Mary kind of a flex-ish option. The other two I have was Kyron Williams. I don't know if I believe it or if it's just going to be a fooled you, week here where Kyron got all the action and Akers was basically useless. And the third one that I just added a little while ago was Joshua Kelly. He had a good week, 15 points, but with news of Eckler possibly being out with an ankle injury, I think he's moving up the list here a bit. But how do you guys feel about Kyron Williams, Josh Kelly, and insert Ravens running back here?
I mean, I'm not overly excited about any of them, to be honest.
Think any of them can be started next week? Kelly without Eckler, Kyron, or a Ravens running back? Can you flex any of them?
Actually,
definitely without Eckler,
Yeah. I think Kelly is somewhat relevant. Eckler's never going to get that full workload, so you could use him as a spot start. I think he's going to get that rushing production going forward. Obviously, I don't think he's a fantastic back, so talent-wise, so I don't think 90 yards and a touchdown is predictive going forward. Kyron Williams, I don't like at all. I feel like this is kind of like Darrell Henderson last year, where if you remember, Cam Akers looked awful. Everyone's like, Darrell Henderson is going to be the guy, and he was not at all.
This happens. Cam
Akers did look really bad.
One.
Akers looked really bad. 1.3 yards per carry is, I'm not sure on 22 attempts, I'm not sure I've seen that in a while.
Was it 22 attempts for 29 yards? Is that what it was? Yeah, that's the best stat line I've ever heard.
I like Akers, so this is not good for me.
I'm trying to remember somebody else yesterday. He wasn't the only one to do that, where it was 20-something carries and under 30 yards. It was impressive.
Really?
So I guess we'll move on to wide receivers, and I guess the theme here is trying to see who's fool's gold. It seems like a week of fool's gold, especially at wide receiver and running back. The top one, I think the easiest option is someone who is rostered in 50% of leagues, was Jacoby Myers, 29 points. I don't think he's going to play like this every week or even close. The issue for me is if you don't own him, I probably wouldn't waste a roster spot on him unless you can afford to hold him, because he's going to be in the concussion protocol, which means he's probably not playing this week. The next one is 55% owned, and that was Nico Collins. Put up 14 points, but like Myers, he's probably he's probably someone who was owned in most of your leagues, so I don't know if you can get him. The four that I do have as under or 30% or under were Zay Jones, who looked like he was the surefire number 2 for the Raiders, Romeo Doubs, who looked like he was the number 1, even though he came out for a bit with injury. Rashid Shaheed, both Doubs and Zay Jones were 30%. Rashid Shaheed was 17% owned, and he looked like he was a really impressive number 2 or 2B, depending on how long Michael Thomas stays healthy for. And the one that I'm sure everyone's going to blow all their money on, who's 7% rostered, the guy, I have him on a lot of rookie leagues, but I don't know how long this is going to last. Puka Nacua put up 22. I don't think the Rams are going to play like this every week. I don't think he's wide receiver 2. He's probably a flex option, maybe a wide receiver 3. What do you guys think here of the wide receiver options? If we have Myers, we'll exclude Myers and Nico because they're probably owned, but we got Zay Jones, Doubs, Shaheed, and Nacua. Anything to say about that quartet?
I have both Nacua and Doubs on mine.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say? Sorry, what? I heard both of you at the same time.
You can go.
Go, Steve.
I was going to say, I like a lot of those guys. Myers, I don't think is, he's probably not available, but he was my most drafted wide receiver underdog. So I'm a little scared, but I think he has the talent that if you can get him for basically free, I would stash him on your bench. But also at the same time, that concussion is a little scary. So
yeah, based
I
on
wouldn't be
the
head
protocol,
over heels.
he's going to miss at least this week,
Yeah.
just based on the fact that when you're in the protocol, the average time to clear is 10 days. So that puts him out next week. So that's why I said don't stash him. I mean, he's probably owned, but don't stash him unless you can afford to. But I don't know. These ones worry me. Like I said, I think if you had to rank the four, I think I would go Dobbs, Zay Jones, Shaheed Nakua. What do you think, Tracy?
I like Nakua. I mean, not as first. I would go Dabs first for sure. But I mean, he's the fourth player in the league history to have 10 receptions and 100 receiving yards in his first career game. It's pretty impressive. So I think, I don't know. I really like him. Everyone is talking about him just because of that. I have him drafted though in a lot of my stuff, partly because his name is awesome. You know how I am. I'm weird with shit like that. But honestly, I liked him from the get-go. I just think he needs practice. Like, he needs to go out and play. I don't think he's going to show us really what he can do properly until like week 5 or 6. I think it was kind of like a fluke almost. But I mean, I definitely put him as like third on the list. Daubs for sure I put as number 1 on that list, though. I have him as number 1.
I just hate buying into. I think out of the four, he's gonna be well, maybe Dobbs will be more expensive, but he's probably gonna be the second most expensive on the waiver wire, and he's only showing us the one game. Granted, it's the only game he played, but Shaheed did pretty good for half a season last year. Zay Jones did it all season and half the year before. Dobbs looked good. I don't know. How do you have it ranked, Steve, with Dobbs, Zay Jones, Shaheed, and Nakua?
I like Zay Jones a lot. He was used over Christian Kirk, and that's kind of upsetting for me because I kind of like Kirk. But it seems like they're really not using Kirk in those slot package. They're only using him in slot packages, and they like running too wide. And in a good offense, Calvin Ridley is the clear alpha, but Jones is getting a lot of work. Dobbs, I think, is pretty solid. I mean, obviously, he has the upside. If he is available, I'll go out and get him. But I think Puka is a solid. He's a guy that has upside on a week-to-week basis, as he showed. But I don't expect him to be a monster breakout and be startable every single week going forward. But if you need someone to fill in your flex, he has the upside to score 20 points at any given moment. He's a talented player. I really wasn't expecting him to have a good first game, even though I thought he was a pretty good prospect coming out. So I was kind of hoping that he would have a rough week 1 and people would be low on him and then I could get him week 2. That didn't happen. But he's solid for sure. I wouldn't go all in. There's a few other guys I still like ahead of him, but he definitely has upside for sure.
I think with Nakua, the thing that scares me is it's one game. Nobody knew who the hell he was. Nobody covered him until it was 120 yards later or whatever. The defense is going to know who he is this week. They're going to have someone covering him, and I think he comes crashing. That's why he's my least favorite. That's not to say that I'll be putting in a few low bids if I need a receiver, but in my flow chart, he would definitely be 4th out of those. 5th and 6th if Myers and Nico are available. There's even another one that I did have that I think he may be relevant on the Patriots. I love him even more so if Jacoby Myers is out. Kendrick Bourne put up 25, and he's only 2% rostered. I believe he had 2 touchdowns, but he's someone where if I need someone this week, I think I'll take Bourne over Myers. But moving on to the tight ends, and it's grim. I've got 5 of them. All of them under 20% owned. The highest owned is 19%. Luke Musgrave put up 8. I have Hunter Henry at 16%. He put up 17. Hayden Hurst put up 15, and he's 11% owned. Zach Ertz led tight ends in targets in week 1. 5% owned, only put up 8 points. And Donald Parham put up 11 points, and he is under 1% owned. It puts it at 0.
Wow.
So I get it. We've got a lot of dart throws here, and this is how tight end is. I've also got a few others, like Logan Thomas was on the list, but I think that was mostly the product of really easy matchup. So out of Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst, Donald Parham, Zach Ertz, and Luke Musgrave, is there anybody standing out on this list? It's got to be what, Musgrave?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. How high you think you're willing to go in $100 budget if you lost if you've got Kelsey or Andrews and you need them and you don't think they're back next week, how high are you willing to go on Musgrave out of $100? Where do you go? 5?
I think that might be pushing it even. I don't know. I mean, tight ends like I don't know. 3.
Do you have any interest in any of the other 4? Like I thought Hayden Hurst was, impressive. I thought he was a check down machine with a rookie quarterback. Zach Ertz, it looks like they just want to run 2 tight end sets in Arizona and double target the tight end all day long because they don't have anything else with them. Parham, I think, might be the taking over as the end zone tight end. He was before until he had that really nasty concussion. And Hunter Henry scares me the most just because Mike Gesicki's on that team and the Patriots are all over the place. But
yep.
I don't mind $1 bids here on Hayden Hurst, Parham, or Ertz. I guess even Henry if you're desperate. But anybody got a tight end that I missed? Anybody?
I mean, I have Laporta on my list, but again, I have him because he's obviously a Lion.
Yeah,
and
I think
most
he was
people
over
probably
60%. So.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, if you had to pick one player from any of the positions today, who is your top waiver ad of the week? Steve?
Honestly, I'd probably go Gainwell or possibly Justice Hill because I'm looking at just for my league specifically, I'll use my main money league as an example. I had J.K. Dobbins and he is out for the year, unfortunately. So I think the most I can do is I definitely need a running back, and I think running back is the most important position that can actually impact you off waiver wire. I mean, tight end is good and wide receiver are good, but running back is going to give you a ton of value, and I like Hill and Gainwell going forward. I think Hill has the opportunity to become the RB1 on the Ravens offense, which is going to be very good, and same with Gainwell. I think they're both not incredibly talented players, but they're both playing on high-powered offenses and could be the RB1 potentially going forward.
You got a favorite, Tracy?
I'm Gainwell as well. I really like him.
Yeah, I think he's my top. Like I said, 3 of my top 5 are guys I already own pretty much everywhere. I had Gainwell, then I threw in Dobbs, Algier, Roschon, and if you need a quarterback, my top option I think was Mac Jones, but I also don't mind Stafford. But he looked better than I thought. There's some options out there, but I'll recap it quickly. But I think there's a lot of fool's gold here. The top 5 we had at quarterback were Mac Jones, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, and if he's not already rostered, Jared Goff. Zach Wilson may be an option for desperate managers with Rodgers leaving in a boot and being ruled out. At running back, we had Tyler Algier, Roschon Johnson, Kyron Williams, Josh Kelly, Kenneth Gainwell, and some form of Baltimore running back. At wide receiver, we've got 2 Patriots in Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne, Puka Nacua, Rashid Shaheed, Romeo Doubs, Zay Jones, and Nico Collins. And at tight end, we went with Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst, Donald Parham, Zach Ertz, and Luke Musgrave. Anything we forgot, guys, before we call it a day? Did I miss anyone?
Nope.
I like all these guys.
Yeah. Is there, I look at this doesn't seem to me as like one of those, blow all your money weeks. What do you think this is? So everyone's at Gainwell out of $100 budget. What's the highest we're going on Gainwell? 10, 15? This isn't a 50% week, eh?
Probably, maybe. But honestly, Gainwell is in most of my stuff anyway, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I'd probably go 15.
Okay, so max. You lost Dobbins, right? So if you lose Dobbins and Gainwell's in the waiver wire, how much are you willing to put in if Gainwell's your only option?
Honestly, I think I might go 20. Yeah. Just because I'm kind of forced to go in. I obviously don't want to. There's not really that many other options. I don't want to go all in. I don't really know if. But I might just go Gainwell or Justice Hill and just put 20 on both. Or maybe I might just do 10 on both. Hopefully I get one of them because I don't think there's going to be too many high bids on both those
for
guys.
me,
There's some other
this is
talent.
going to be one of those weeks where I'm going to have an insane amount of $1 bids, and I'm just going to get whoever falls to me at $1, and that's what it's going to be. Because I don't think if you told me one set player, maybe running back, I'll have a little more on Gainwell, Algier, or Roschon if I don't own them, but pretty much every other position, it's a case of throw $1 on them, and whoever falls to me, I'll take, especially at tight end. That's ugly, and even quarterback, if I need a QB, it's ugly. So. All right. Well, this has been Rat Pack Fantasy Football, the Week 1 Monday Night Football recap and waiver show. Thank you to Steve Bradshaw and Tracy Norton for joining me. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care and have a great night, everyone, and enjoy what's left of Monday Night Football.